So today we have the Zeiss Contax 35mm lens. This is one of my most beloved lenses. So I've had this set of Zeiss Contax for over a decade, and it has been one of my most beloved filmmaking tools. Now you see these vintage lenses all over, and I've had a lot of them over the years. I've purchased and sold different sets, trying stuff out. So I just want to talk about vintage lenses. To start with, the history of vintage lenses. So digital sensors breathe a lot of new life and value into these. The Contax in particular, seems like there's the Leica Rs that are out there that are pretty popular, and then the Zeiss Contax seem like they're maybe the other vintage lens set that people are looking into. And so they have grown a lot in value over the years, the Leicas especially, but the Contax too, just because people could buy them on eBay. You know, you can find them in vintage shops, thrift shops, estate sales, and you put them on these digital sensors and they're pretty unbelievable. They sort of transport you to a different place in time. I found that when I started using them about 10 years ago, they hadn't really caught on yet, and so directors or producers would see them and they would be like, wow, that's really spectacular. That's a very unique look. And so that kind of became a calling card for me. Now I think it's a calling card for a lot of people because they've become really popular. The Zeiss Contax in particular, I think there was like a forum post on Reduser a long time ago. It must be at least a decade, maybe the early 2010s or something like that, maybe earlier. And they called it the Zeiss Contax Survival Guide. I'm gonna put a link in the description. It's worth taking a look at if you're interested in these lenses because they really go through every single one of them. And so for anyone who has tried to put together a set of these, they have looked at this and taken a look at the serial numbers, and you look online at the different serial numbers because some of them have different characteristics. Some of them are known to have the ninja star as you stop them down. So it's interesting. But I thought this would be a way that I can talk a little bit about my experience using the Contax lenses, and then also specifically about the 35mm, which is pretty much my favorite focal length, or at least it was for a time where I would almost shoot everything on 35mm. The great thing about a 35 like this lens is that at 1.4, obviously, it can have very shallow depth of field, which is great, but also it can focus extremely close. I think, I'm gonna look right now and see. So 0.3 meters, a foot, that's the close focus. And what that means is that you can really, on like a full frame kind of camera, you can really shoot a true close-up. If you back up, you can shoot a true wide shot. You can shoot almost a macro with it. At that 1.4, the depth of field is really shallow. So there are just a lot of different ways that you can use it, and a lot of different looks that you can get with it. Also, having a prime instead of a zoom lens is gonna make you move around on your feet. It's gonna make you think a little bit more, and I just find it makes me like a little bit more connected to the environment. The other nice thing is you start to kind of develop a look. I mean, if you stick with one lens for a long time, it's gonna change the way that you shoot, and it's gonna definitely give you kind of a distinctive look. So especially with the Zeiss Contax set. So some people compare these to the super speeds, which a lot of movies in the 70s used these, the Zeiss Super Speed Mark IIs. They're really amazing lenses too. They also, I think at one point were cheaper. Now they're very expensive. So to buy a set of those is like $100,000. To rent a set of them is, many hundreds of dollars a day, thousands of dollars a week. And so this was kind of like the much cheaper way to get in the game. I think when I bought my 35, it was maybe $700 or $800, and maybe now they're worth like a little bit more. But the other nice thing is if you buy them, they don't really depreciate that much because lenses kind of just seem to get more and more valuable. They're not making any more of them, and with digital sensors now, it's like everything that's old is new. And so it's kind of an evergreen potential. But also I find that getting some new lenses, especially really different looks, they can help you explore your creative boundaries. They can make you get some new ideas. Maybe you get a lens, you come up with a project, and I think that's the best way with all equipment. So if you're gonna get a piece of equipment, you're gonna get excited about it. Everybody does. But what's a practical way that you can take that and then use that in a project? What's a way that you can use that, to help bring some momentum to your creative ideas? It's a cliche to say like, how can you use it to tell a story? I don't even think it's about telling a story. I just think it's like, it can give you that motivation, that inspiration to go and do something, but you gotta hang on to it, because if you're buying something new every week, you're really not improving at all. and you're not making any new work. So the most important thing is to get out there and try and use it. So one of the things I love about this set of lenses is that you can have them, I wouldn't call it cinevised, that's what they call it, but you can have it modified to be a little bit more purpose fit for these cinematic uses. So taking a look at it, you know, these front caps for video are nice. You can put like this, I've got the focal length on here. That's really helpful because, you know, you're gonna have these in a lens case, you wanna be able to just grab them. You're gonna be using probably some clamp on matte boxes, or even if you have a matte box with like a ring or a donut or whatever, you're gonna want them all to be kind of the same. So these folks who do the modification, they'll kind of get it set up like that. People, you know, they want the follow focus rings. I think, in my opinion, I don't use a follow focus with these lenses because, like, you can see, well, maybe you can or can't, but it's really torquey. Some of them are different than others. I found that even like really nice vintage lenses can be torquey, and so they don't work great with follow focuses because there's just too much resistance. So wireless ones especially, even if you get like the most expensive ones, I've tried everything on this one and it's not the best. So that's a disadvantage of using vintage lenses. In those situations, it makes a little bit more sense to use something that's purpose made. And then they'll also declick the aperture, which is really nice. Like, I mean, on some of these cameras, like the FX9 I'm shooting on now, there's a variable ND, which can kind of do the same thing, but this is nice because you can take it in whatever system you have and, you know, it's declicked. To me, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Some people really, they think it's really important. I think it's a nice to have. The other thing is a lot of these people will modify it. Of course, it's the Zeiss Contax. It came from the Contax photography system. It was a still photo lens. And Contax, they don't make cameras anymore. I actually don't even know if they're around anymore. But there is this company in Europe, I can't remember what country they're from, but they're in the EU, they're called LUTs. They make really nice adapters. You can buy them yourself. Also, almost all these places have them in stock, and they make like hard adapters that are pretty easy to mount. I believe they have them for the Leica Rs, they have them for the Contax. There might be some, I have a set of Mamiya C-Core Cs, there might be some for those too. Canon FD can fit on some sensors, it kind of depends on the flange distance. So not every lens can fit on everything. The nice thing about the Contax and the Leicas is that they can really get on most systems, but a lot of us, like, I've just adapted this to a hard EF mount, and then when I go put it on my Sony, I use an EF adapter. On the Red, I use the EF mount. If you're gonna use that on an Arri, you know, you can use the EF. So it makes it kind of a little bit more universal. It really depends on what your other lenses are in, if it's gonna fit in that category. Yeah, this 35 is probably the best in the set. There is a 35-2.8 that I have not used that I hear is pretty nice, but the amazing thing about this set is you can get this 1.4 aperture, you know, you can put it on the A7S III and you can see in the dark and have it look really clean. Or any of these modern cameras, a lens this fast at this price, with this quality of rendering, you're not gonna find it out there. I mean, they're gonna cost more than this lens for sure. Even when you take into account all the modifications and everything that you might wanna do to it, it's definitely less. And when you talk about pulling together a whole set, some are more expensive than others, but definitely like a whole set is gonna be a lot cheaper than your alternatives. You're not gonna get the autofocus, you're gonna have to do some work to be able to get it together, but the image quality is pretty stunning. I think the Contax are a really great sweet spot because when they're wide open, they have that very vintage, very dreamlike, very soft kind of look. But then when you stop them down to a 2.8 or 4 or whatever, you can get a much more commercial type of rendering. Some of the other vintage lenses, I don't know if you can do that. I had a set of the Leica Rs, which people love, like love. They're so worth it. They've appreciated so much. I sold the ones that I had because I just was using them for still photography, and then I just didn't really like using them on video that much because I found they were kind of a little bit smaller and the look was pretty soft, but people love them. They swear by them. Like some of my really good friends have them. So I don't think you're wrong to do that, but I would say the prices on those have kind of appreciated a lot. So just make sure you can find like a good price. For all of these, you do have to be a little bit patient if you want to find them. KEH is a good place to look. eBay for sure is a good place to look. B&H occasionally will have them in their used ones. KEH I think is like probably the best for vintage lenses, just because you have a pretty good idea of what the quality that you're gonna get is on eBay. I mean, I just bought a lens on eBay last week that is actually in amazing condition, the glass, but they sent it to me and the aperture didn't work. So it's like, okay, now we have to get it fixed and whatever, and it's a bit of a hassle. So you're in for a bit of a hassle, but once you get this set pulled together, people might wanna rent them from you, but also taking them out, it gives you a very unique look. It's cool. So that's the Zeiss Contax lenses. On the 35, like hopefully this is giving you some ideas about how you can take out a lens that you've already used before. The 35, like I said, is just a standard. I think the other lenses, I might have a little bit more to say. This one I've used so much, I almost don't even use it anymore because I feel like I got so used to using it that I became even a little bit complacent. But I think that if you get it, you'll find that it's a pretty incredible lens. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. Like it, follow it. I do a lot of technical stuff about videos. Also talk about the art of filmmaking, the business of filmmaking. So stick around and we'll see you next time.